The pot of rice was empty, and everyone's mouth was wide open. But how did a baby do that? Once upon a time, on a bright Saturday morning, the Johnson family was ready for a big breakfast. Mamar Johnson cooked a giant pot of rice and chicken stew. The smell was dancing around the house like a happy song. Tommy and Daddy were ready with their spoons, and Uncle Joe was stretching his neck, ready to swallow 3 plates, as usual. Little Ella, only 6 months old, was in her high chair, her tiny hands waving like a traffic officer stopping cars. She made her cute sounds, her eyes were so big, and her mouth was ready, demanding her share. Daddy laughed. Let's give her a tiny spoon. But 1 spoon turned into 2, then 3, then 10. Spoons clicked, plates stayed empty, and before they knew it, the whole pot was empty. Ella's chubby cheeks had porridge sticking, and her giggle was louder than the television. Tommy shouted, "She is a baby vacuum." And everyone burst into laughter, but their tummies were rumbling, and Daddy whispered, "Is she a baby or a hungry lion?" Ella just giggled, her tiny feet kicking with joy, not knowing she had just made breakfast disappear like a magic show. The next morning, Mamar Johnson's phone kept ringing. Neighbors had heard of the baby who could eat more than a grown man, and they wanted to see for themselves. Aunt Lisa came with a pot of mashed potatoes, and Uncle Joe came with beans, saying, "Let's see if the stories are true." Ella clapped her tiny hands when she saw the food. She opened her mouth, and the moment the first spoon entered, it was like a race. The mashed potatoes vanished, the beans disappeared, and Ella kept smiling, asking for more with her little squeals. People in the house were shocked, their eyes wide like owls. One neighbor whispered, "Is she a magician?" While Uncle Joe just stood there, scratching his head. Aunt Lisa, who always says that babies only take tiny bites, was speechless. Ella was not slowing down, and the spoons kept moving. The baby who once drank only milk was now the champion eater of the street, and nobody could believe what they were seeing. But deep down, Mamar Johnson started to worry. How are we going to feed her tomorrow? On a Monday morning, when Mamar Johnson opened the fridge, it was almost empty. The rice was gone, the beans were finished, and the fruits were nowhere to be found. Then, Daddy checked the cupboard, and only 3 biscuits were left. Tommy whispered, "Is Ella going to eat the table now?" But before they could think, Ella woke up, smiling and clapping, ready for her breakfast. Mamar Johnson tried giving her water, but Ella made a loud sound that shook the house. The baby wanted food, and she wanted it now. They gave her the last 3 biscuits, and Ella munched them in seconds, giggling and asking for more with her big baby eyes. Daddy ran to the neighbor's house to borrow rice, and Uncle Joe came back with bread and eggs. As they cooked, Ella waited, smacking her lips and waving her hands. Tommy stood guard with a banana, ready to give her the moment she started to cry. When the food was ready, Ella started eating, and the food began to disappear again. Everyone was laughing but also scared. They joked, maybe Ella will eat the sun next, but Mamar Johnson was thinking about tomorrow's market trip. Ella's hunger was becoming a full-time job. Grandma Betty came to visit, shaking her head, saying, "A baby cannot eat like that. You people are exaggerating." She brought a giant bowl of oatmeal, smiling confidently. "Let's see how much you can eat, little princess." Ella saw the oatmeal and started bouncing, her hands waving like she was conducting an orchestra. Grandma Betty scooped the first spoon, and Ella's mouth opened like a little bird's. She swallowed, then squealed for more. Spoon after spoon, Ella kept going. Grandma Betty's eyes widened, and her hands started shaking. The oatmeal was going down fast, and Ella was still smiling, her cheeks puffed and porridge dripping. Finally, Grandma Betty dropped her spoon, her mouth open. "My goodness! This baby is not a baby. She is a food monster." Everyone burst into laughter, and even Grandma Betty could not help it but laugh too. Ella had finished the entire bowl, then clapped her hands as if she was asking, "What is next?" The Johnson family decided to take Ella out for fresh air with a picnic at the park. They packed sandwiches, fruits, juice, and cake, thinking it would last the whole day. As soon as they opened the basket, Ella's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. She started reaching out, her giggles turning into excited squeals. Mamar Johnson gave her a sandwich, thinking she would nibble slowly. But no, Ella finished it in a few bites, reaching for the next, and the next. The fruits were gone, the juice finished, and Ella even grabbed the cake, eating it with her tiny hands, giggling as frosting stuck to her cheeks. Tommy shouted, "She is going to eat the sun one day." Everyone laughed, but they also watched the empty basket, realizing their food was gone before noon. Other families in the park watched in shock as Ella finished everything. One man whispered, "Is she in training for an eating contest?" Mamar Johnson just sighed, "We will need a bigger picnic basket next time." Mamar Johnson was worried, so she took Ella to Dr. Martin for a checkup. "Doctor, she eats too much, and we are worried," she explained while Ella giggled, playing with the doctor's pen. Dr. Martin smiled and handed Ella a biscuit. Ella grabbed it, munched it down, and reached for another, and another. Soon, the biscuit jar was empty, and Ella was still clapping her hands. Dr. Martin laughed, shaking his head. "Mamar Johnson, she is perfectly healthy. She just has a big appetite. Some babies are like that, but she is strong and happy." Mamar Johnson felt relieved, but when they stepped out, Tommy said, "Doctor's biscuits are gone too," and everyone laughed. Even Dr. Martin waved. "Next time, I will hide the biscuits." Mamar Johnson decided to stop worrying and start planning. "If Ella wants food, we will give her food," she said. So she and Daddy made a feeding plan for the week, writing down meals like big pot of yam porridge, 3 loaves of bread, and 2 big bowls of fruit salad. On Sunday morning, they woke up early to cook. The kitchen smelled of fried plantain, steaming rice, and hot akara balls. Tommy danced around with a spoon, shouting, "We are making a mountain of food for Ella the lion baby." When it was ready, the table was full. Ella, sitting in her high chair, clapped her hands in excitement. Everyone watched as Mamar Johnson gave her the first spoon. Ella ate, giggled, and opened her mouth again. She ate the akara, the rice, and the plantain. Her cheeks were chubby, and her hands were messy, but her eyes twinkled with joy. The family was laughing, clapping for her, and even taking photos as she ate. "Go, Ella! Go, Ella!" Tommy cheered, pretending to be her cheerleader. In the end, Ella finished the mountain of food, leaned back with a happy sigh, and giggled. Everyone else was amazed but smiling. It was no longer a problem, it was family fun. News about Ella spread beyond the street. Soon, people from other parts of town came to see the famous baby who eats more than adults. Some came with bowls of food to see if she would finish them, others came just to watch and laugh. One day, a local radio presenter came with a microphone, wanting to record Ella's eating show. Ella sat in her high chair, wearing a yellow bib, smiling at the visitors. Mamar Johnson brought out bowls of jollof rice and beans, and everyone leaned forward. The presenter started, "We are here with Ella, the baby champion." Ella giggled, picked up a spoon with her tiny hand, and started eating. Bite after bite, she ate quickly, her cheeks were bouncing, and her eyes were so bright. People clapped and laughed, and some recorded videos on their phones. "She is so fast," one woman shouted. "She is not a baby, she is a superhero," another laughed. Ella, enjoying the attention, clapped her hands between bites. The presenter ended the recording, saying, "Ella reminds us that sometimes the smallest people can do the biggest things." One Saturday, Uncle Joe decided to challenge Ella. "I will buy the biggest cake in town, and let's see if our little princess can finish it," he said. He returned home with a tall, colorful cake, decorated with pink icing, chocolate chips, and cherries on top. Tommy's eyes widened. "Wow, that is a giant cake," he shouted. Ella saw the cake and started bouncing in her high chair, giggling with excitement. They placed the cake in front of her, and everyone gathered around. Mamar Johnson cut a small piece, but Ella squealed, reaching for the bigger piece. Laughing, Mamar gave her a bigger slice. Ella's tiny hands grabbed the cake, and she took big bites, crumbs falling, icing sticking to her cheeks, and the chocolate smudging her nose. Everyone laughed, taking photos and videos. Piece after piece, Ella kept eating, her giggles echoing in the room. Soon, half the cake was gone, and Ella was still going. Uncle Joe's eyes popped. This baby is not a baby. She is a cake monster. Finally, Ella finished the last piece, leaned back, and let out a loud giggle that made everyone laugh. She did it! Tommy shouted, throwing his hands in the air. Dr. Martin, curious after hearing stories about Ella's cake challenge, came to the house to see for himself. He brought a pot of vegetable soup, saying, "Let's see if you will finish this too, little princess." Ella clapped her hands, excited to see the doctor again. The pot was placed on the table, and Mamar Johnson scooped a bowl for Ella. The doctor watched, his pen and notepad ready. Ella started eating, taking spoon after spoon. Her eyes were bright, her mouth was moving fast, and her tiny hands tapping the table in joy. Dr. Martin's jaw dropped as the bowl emptied, and Mamar scooped another, and another, until the pot was empty. Tommy whispered, "I told you, doctor," and everyone laughed. Dr. Martin finally said, "She is healthy, and she just has a big appetite. But more importantly, she is a happy baby, and that is what matters." During the town's food festival, the Johnsons decided to take Ella along. There were tables of puff-puff, jollof rice, roasted corn, and barbecue chicken everywhere. People recognized Ella immediately. "That is the baby who ate the big cake," a woman shouted. Vendors started giving Ella small bites to taste, and Ella happily accepted, eating puff-puff, roasted corn, and even licking barbecue sauce from her tiny fingers. People gathered, clapping, cheering, and taking videos as Ella ate, giggled, and waved at the crowd. Tommy danced around, saying, "Ella for president," and the crowd roared with laughter. Ella became the star of the festival, and the family enjoyed watching people smile as they saw Ella's joy. It was not just about food anymore. It was about sharing laughter with everyone. One evening, the Johnsons were tired and did not cook much. They made small plates of noodles for dinner, and everyone sat to eat. But Ella woke up, smiling, ready for dinner. Tommy whispered, "Uh-oh," as Ella started waving her hands, asking for food. Mamar Johnson gave her a few spoons, but Ella wanted more. Soon, the noodles were finished, and Ella started to whimper. She was not crying loudly, but she looked at everyone with her big eyes, making small air sounds that melted hearts. Uncle Joe quickly ran to buy bread, and Tommy found a banana, while Daddy boiled water for cereal. As they fed her, Ella's giggles returned, and the house was filled with laughter again. They learned that Ella's hunger needed planning, but they would always find a way to keep her happy. One morning, Mamar Johnson sat down, tired from cooking. She looked at Ella, who was playing with a spoon, giggling and babbling happily. She realized Ella's hunger had brought the family closer. They spent more time cooking together, laughing at Ella's funny faces while eating, and sharing moments they would never forget. Even Tommy had learned to help in the kitchen, and Daddy learned to cook jollof rice. Ella, with her big appetite, had turned the family into a team. They did not just feed her. They created memories around her meals, and the home was filled with laughter and togetherness. When Ella turned 2, the Johnsons decided to throw her the biggest birthday party in the neighborhood. They cooked mountains of jollof rice, fried chicken, made giant bowls of salad, and baked the biggest cake the town had ever seen. Children came with balloons, neighbors brought gifts, and the air was filled with music and laughter. Ella, wearing a yellow birthday dress with tiny shoes, giggled as everyone sang for her. Then it was time for the food. Ella clapped her hands, excited, and Mamar Johnson fed her while everyone watched. Ella took bites of rice, chicken, and cake, her cheeks chubby, her eyes sparkling. Everyone cheered, "Go, Ella!" and took pictures. It wasn't about how much she ate anymore. It was about how much joy she brought. As the sun set on Ella's birthday, the family sat together, laughing and looking at photos of Ella eating, giggling, and clapping her hands. They realized Ella did not just eat food. She filled their lives with laughter, warmth, and unforgettable memories. Even as she grew, Ella's big appetite remained, but it was now a blessing. The Johnson family learned to enjoy every meal, every laugh, and every moment together. And so, the baby who once shocked everyone with her hunger became the baby who taught them to smile, laugh, and enjoy every day, one giant spoon of rice at a time. The story teaches us that true joy comes from togetherness, laughter, and love. not just from food, and that even a child's unique appetite can unite a family, create beautiful memories, and turn everyday moments into lasting blessings. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Until next time, this is Rietta. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe, like, share and comment below so that I will know your opinion. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you will be the first to know when the next video drops. Peace out.